live today to talk about how to clear your pipeline in 2023. So it's January when I'm recording this video and podcast, and I know that many of you are looking out at 2023 and thinking like, well, let's see, what can I get done this year? What makes sense? What do I need to work on? And some of you might be taking kind of a tack or using a tactic for figuring out what publications you want to work on this year that actually causes you to publish fewer things. So today I want to talk about how to clear your pipeline in 2023. So the tactic that you really need to use is actually maybe kind of the opposite of what you've been doing. So let's get into it. First, let's give a quick definition of publication pipeline. So when people in academia talk about their publication pipeline, what they're talking about is all of their writing projects that are going to be submitted for publication, no matter what stage of done they are, right? So it could be a writing project that is basically you have the data analyzed and a vague idea of what the paper is going to be about. That's kind of like the initial stages of something being in your pipeline, all the way to articles or things that are submitted and out for review and you're waiting for them to come back, right? So your publication pipeline includes all of the many projects in various stages of done. That's what a publication pipeline is. And then the way that I like to talk about and think about a publication pipeline for professors and for academics is that it's like a big project plan. It's like a high level project plan where you're managing multiple projects. Okay, so that's the way I want people to think about what their pipelines are. So many people set for themselves a goal like, oh, I want to clear out my publication pipeline. And what they mean by that is that they want to take their articles that are in various, or articles or chapters or whatever pieces of writing, grants perhaps, that are in various stages of done, and move them through their pipeline until they are at least submitted, if not actually published. This is really important. When you go for grants, you need to have this, you need to have your publications out. When you go for promotion, if you want to change jobs, having those publications out in the world is important for all of those reasons, and for the reason that you have things to say, right? You have a unique perspective on your field that needs to be out there. You have a perspective on your field and maybe new information. You're making knowledge, and the way that other people can find out about that knowledge is through your publications. All right, so that's what a publication pipeline is, and those are the reasons why you would want to clear it, right? Like move those projects all the way through. So what you may have been doing up until now, especially if you're early career, but not exclusively for people who are early career, you might be thinking, I have so many projects. I want to have so many publications out in the world. So I need to write up and submit everything that I possibly could. Okay. So this would include papers that, like, I remember having this thought when I was first new on the tenure track. And I was like, oh, there was that paper that I wrote for that grad class. That could be a cool publication. And then I've got my dissertation, and my dissertation has 5 chapters, and those could each be articles. And I had this idea that every single piece of writing I had done as a graduate student was worthy of publication, which is not necessarily true. And second, that I needed to publish those things because they were, in my mind, close to done. Okay, so we tell ourselves this a lot. We have a conceptualization of an article or a chapter or a something in our brain, and it's like, oh, well, it's 20 pages long, so it's almost done and could be an article. When that's not necessarily true, and the more important thing is it might not really be the best publication out there representing who you are and what you want to contribute to the world. So let's get into the actual tactic, right? The strategy, the tangible thing you need to do to clear your pipeline. It's the opposite of what I just said. So there's two main steps here to take. The first step, if you want to clear your pipeline in 2023, is to write an academic mission statement. And you might be like, that seems like an exercise. It's not as important as how is an academic mission statement going to help me clear my pipeline in 2023? Here's how. So an academic mission statement, we have a template for this. We have a process for teaching you how to write it. We do that inside our Navigate program. And this is a statement that basically encapsulates your mission as an academic. So the contribution to knowledge making that you are trying to create as a scholar. And it is some people, so I just said that, and you might be thinking, what about my teaching and my service? What about my outreach work and everything? We teach a way of writing the academic mission statement so that all of those things can be done, right? Like all of that fits within or supports or can support the academic mission statement template way that we teach how to do it, right, in our Navigate program. So the first thing is to have an academic mission statement now. Why is that the first thing? Well, in order to move things through your pipeline, they need to deserve to be there. Those publications that you're trying to move through your pipeline need to deserve to be there. Your pipeline should be curated. It shouldn't be what I was mentioning before, which is just anything I've ever written of any length could become a publishable article or could become a publishable thing, right? No, actually. And you don't want that. And the reason you don't want that is because your list of publications that go on your CV, and more important, not that go on your CV, but that are out in the world representing you and your work, need to tell a story about who you are in order for them to really work for your career. And they need to tell a story about the change you're trying to make in the world in order to have the impact and effectiveness on your field or on the populations you study or on the problem that you're researching. Okay? So a concise, a mission-driven publication pipeline has two benefits for you. One is it tells the world who you are so that when you go to operate in the world and ask for grants and try to get a new job and try to get promoted, the world understands who you are clearly, okay? And that also that you are in control of, or you are designing what that academic persona or academic brand is for yourself. It's not like haphazardly put together by other people. And then the second thing is that on mission, mission-driven publication pipeline also creates more effective change in the world. Okay, the more that your publication pipeline is on mission, the better you are actually enacting that mission in the world. And for us, a big part of the mission statement is the change you want to make in the world. So whether you're trying to make a change in the world, solving a certain problem, right? Influencing a certain population, making knowledge in a certain way, whatever your change in the world that you want to see happen, it's going to happen more effectively if your publication pipeline is all about one thing, your academic mission statement. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't, so some of you are like, but I'm multi-passionate and I have all these ideas. Yeah, great. So write an academic mission statement that can kind of be the holder of all of that. But you need to have some kind of guiding mission in order for your academic life not to spin out of control and like destroy you, right? Like pull you in so many directions that you can't manage your time. You can't, nobody knows what you really do because you do so many different things. Nobody knows who you really are. And then you're basically like diluting your effectiveness and your impact. So step one in clearing your publication pipeline in 2023 is having an academic mission statement, okay? Or deciding, this is what my academic mission is. Step two is doing the work to align. So, well, part of step 1B is you have the academic mission statement. Maybe it's 3 steps. Wait, I want it to be 3 steps. Go back. Step 1, write the academic mission statement. Step 2, align your pipeline behind the academic mission statement. So you're going to then use that academic mission statement to curate what goes into your pipeline and what stays into your pipeline, in your pipeline. Again, in our Navigate program, we walk you through a process of doing this. We do it together. We do it with the support of coaching. It means you're going to have to kill your darlings. It means you're going to have to decide that you make the very good decision to not worry about sunk costs. Okay, so what I mean by that is a lot of people are like, but I spent so much time on this article. It's time you'll never get back. You're never getting back that time. But what you can do is don't throw good time after bad, right? Don't keep putting time into an article that's off mission for you just because you've already put time into it. You're robbing your best work by trying to recuperate sunk costs. Ask any economist. You can't. That's why they're called sunk costs. Time is a sunk cost. You can't recuperate it. You're done. It's better to cut your losses, bless and release those articles that aren't in line with your academic mission statement, and use your very precious resource of time just for the articles that should be in your pipeline. Okay, so step 1 was write academic mission statement. Step 2 is align your pipeline with the academic mission statement. All right, that means you're going to have to cut stuff from your pipeline. You're going to have to make the decision to say no to some articles that don't fit with your academic mission. Okay? Step 3 now, because I love 3 steps. I'm sorry I didn't think about it before when I was writing my notes. So step 3 then, and this is key, is to align your time behind your academic mission statement so that you free time for writing. So if you look out your schedule, if you look at all the things you do every day, once you write an academic mission statement, you have a way to evaluate how your use of time, right? So for example, let's imagine you look at your calendar, and actually what would be awesome to do is a time study. Do a time study where for, a week, you write down every single thing that you do during your working hours. And then, and then you hold that thing up against your academic mission statement. So some things you're going to be like, okay, well, I spent an hour on email every day. And you're going to hold that up. Is spending an hour on email supporting my academic mission? Well, some of the emails might have been, but some of them not. So it might, then you can say, okay, how can I reduce the number of emails that I need to deal with every day? And there's a ton of ways to do that, including automations, automations is probably the biggest one, just deciding there's some things that don't always need your response, right? So there's ways to cut down, corralling your email time also is putting boundaries around the email time. Can also help for it to take up less time, because email is something that tends to bleh over into everything we do. But if you put a boundary around it and you say, well, I answer email on these dates during this block of time, then you can prevent that endlessly answering email thing where it takes hours and hours. So probably that combined with automations is your best bet if email is a big problem for you. And then just continue to look okay, I went to this meeting about this thing. I'm on this committee. I have this graduate student. I'm teaching this course. All of those things need to be contributing to your academic mission. So then if they don't, then you need to make a plan for how you are going to stop doing those things or align them with your academic mission, right? So one thing that is kind of easy to explain, right, would be don't stop taking on graduate students with these completely out of your field, out of your area, not out of your field, but out of your area thesis topics. Make sure all the thesis topics are also related to your academic mission. You'll be a more effective advisor if you do that. And then your advising work becomes aligned with your academic mission. Same with teaching. Like a lot of times we're teaching courses that are completely that we're not in the classroom talking about our research area. How can you bring your course load closer to the kinds of things you do in your research so that your teaching then becomes part of, completing your academic mission or doing your academic mission in the world? It's not these, I'm asking you these questions on on this like YouTube video and podcast. They're not easy questions to answer, right? They take time, they take space, they take coaching a lot of times. I think that's one way to make them easier to answer, because we're so used to operating in a certain way, and I'm asking you to operate in a different way. And that takes some reflection, and it takes some time and some energy to develop and build. So I know I'm like saying these things and you might think, she thinks they're easy. I do not think they're easy. That's why we have programs around how to do this, because it is not easy. Okay, so your 3 tangible steps that you need to make in order to clear your pipeline in 2023 are: write an academic mission statement, curate your pipeline so that everything in your pipeline supports your academic mission, and then curate your calendar. Curate your time so that everything, or let's say 80 to 90% of the things you do, support your academic mission. All right. How can, so here's the decision you really need to make if you want to do that. Well, and also let me just explain how that works. So when you do that, what you're doing in step 2, you are reducing the number of publications in your pipeline, which makes it easier to clear it. Not just because there's fewer things, but because the things in it are like more about the same topic, right? The same mission, the same thing. And that makes everything you do like way more leveraged, and your writing goes faster. And your publication submission goes faster. And then when you curate your calendar, right, you're cutting, you have to do like the second half of curating your calendar is you're not going to just like use those hours that you find in your schedule or that you clear in your schedule for other stuff, for more email. You're going to use those hours in the week that you find for writing, right? For the work that needs to get done in order to publish, which is writing. Okay, and thinking, which is part of writing. So here's the big thing the big step that you need to take in order to make this work. You have to decide what you want your career to become. You have to decide what you want your career to become. So what I mean here is when you write an academic mission statement and we give you a template and you sit down and we take you through the process of crafting this academic mission statement in the different parts, what you're doing, the hard work, is deciding who you want to be as a scholar. It's deciding what kind of career you want to have. And that's something I think that we don't stop and think about enough, right? And I think we should think about it at the beginning of at least 3 or 4 times a year. We should be reevaluating that academic mission statement and thinking like, is this who I am now? Is this who I want to be, right? Is this what I want to create in the world? Because as academics, we are creators. We are creators of things. So, to wrap up, how can you make this all easier for yourself? Well, we would love to have you in one of our programs. And the one where we do this work specifically is Navigate Your Writing Roadmap. Now, we are currently taking applications for a cohort for this 12-week program that will start of the end of February. February 20, I think, is the start date, and it runs till May 12th. Navigate helps tenure-track women and non-binary professors with a disruptive perspective on their field to publish their backlog of papers so that their voice can have the impact that they know is possible. If that sounds like you, we would love to have you apply for Navigate. So here's a few other things. Navigate is right for you if you've published at least one academic article in a peer-reviewed journal. So it is kind of helpful to already have gone through that process one time, at least, right? Also, if you have at least 3 partially written articles in your draft folder, Navigate is a great fit for you. So that's because the work of Navigate has so much to do with pipeline clearing. We want to make sure that you got some stuff to clear, right? You got some things. And at least one of those articles should be like, we call it the almost done article, right? It's like the, oh, I'm so close to getting this in. I just need a few good hours on it and I'll get it in. If you have one of those, Navigate is going to help you get that submitted by the end of the 12 weeks, probably earlier than 12 weeks. Also, if you have too much data for the amount of time you have to write it up, then going through this process in our Navigate program is really going to be an effective way for you to get that data, the results of that data out in the world. Also, if you want to publish, even though your position has a heavy teaching load or a heavy service load or a heavy admin load, but you're like one of these people that's like, but I don't want to leave my publications and my research line behind just because I'm the associate dean, or the director of the department, then Navigate is also the program for you. Also, just like you got stuff to say, you have things to say and you need to get those publications out and your voice heard in the world. So we're accepting applications now. The cohort that we're enrolling, if you're watching this or listening to this in real time, is a pilot cohort. We're looking for between 10 and 20 people to sign up. We already have 5 applications of people wanting to join, and we start February 20th. So get your application in as soon as possible. After this video is over, or if you're listening on the podcast, the show notes will have the link to a document that explains the program, including the call times and the pricing and all of that. And then it also has the link to apply. And I'll also be putting that here in the YouTube description. So if you're listening, and I know some of you are, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And if you're listening on the podcast, would love to have you subscribe and share the podcast with a colleague who you think would love it. All right. So excited for 2023. So much pipeline clearing to do. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.